Welcome along once again to the Cardiff City phone-in. At the end of last week's show, as usual, at the end of the programme, we say, what's the prediction? We had two home games coming up, against Wycombe and Blackpool. It was like 4-1, 5-1, 3-0, 4-0. We didn't score in either. And we managed to lose one of them. But we picked up that point, and that point on the weekend, because the other results went our way, means we've actually made progress, which is unbelievable. But, of course, that's not how we all feel. So there's plenty to talk about tonight. And we were talking, Gary, just now, and you said about it's a good time, it's a good time for the players to get a break. And I said to you, yes, it's also a good time for the fans to get a break.
Yeah, it is, Steve. Like we were just discussing off air now, I think there was a bit of an atmosphere there Saturday, but I think it was basically because everybody's so desperate for us to get over the line, and it's not, I don't condone booing at the end. That doesn't achieve anything really. But I think people, like we all said, who've been going down there for a long time, are just so desperate for them to get back there, because we all know this is a one season hit, isn't it? We must get back to the championship at first time of asking, and we sort of desperately want us to get back there straight away. And I think it's almost like a frustration really, and so desperately want us to win, and get over the line. And I think that's basically what it is. Hopefully, this, like I say, this 15-day sort of whatever it is rest now will sort of revitalise everybody, give everybody a boost, and we can get back to winning ways. Because I think with 7 games left, realistically, because Bolton don't want to catch us by the looks of it. If we can get even 3 wins and a draw out of the last 7,
I should do it.
Mathematically, that's 20. But they can't overhaul us. So I think maybe even 3 wins would be enough. So fingers crossed, But we got to get back. We got to get back up. We got to get back to it when we play Peterborough now. Definitely.
Obviously it's been frustrating, Gary, and we had those. There were 2 home games, and obviously if we won both of them, we'd be looking great. Actually, we'd actually be a point off the top still. If that matters. But do you think that the City fans, do you think sometimes they can be, they can kind of share their feelings of and add to the pressure for the players a bit in those games?
Yeah, myself included on Saturday, I did get up and shout, a couple of times, nothing, I would never shout abuse at the players.
Is one of those words shoot by any chance?
Shoot. It's like, it has become a bit, look, we all know what's happened in the last few games. Lincoln and Wycombe and Blackpool.
Yeah, everyone's going to do it now.
Everybody's going to do it. They just let us have the ball, and it's so difficult with teams who don't want to play. Not so much, Lincoln, because obviously they're a decent side, and they their league position suggests it is. But the last 2 games this last week, they've just come there for a draw, and they know now that if we can starve those, if we can just. It's so tight and very difficult to penetrate, isn't it? When you've got 9 men behind the ball, and usually around the last third in the field, it's like trying, it's so difficult, and we've lost that little bit of a spark and a little bit of urgency. It was so sterile on Saturday. At times it was slow, and the passing was sideways, and we weren't really making any really clear-cut chances, and I think that spills over to the crowd then, and they get frustrated.
They feed off each other.
Yeah, they do. They do. And but it, the majority of fans just desperately want us to win, don't they? There's nothing more than that, I think, really. But but yeah, it does filter through, doesn't it, sometimes? And but fingers crossed now we can finish the last 7 games with a bang,
Yeah, and like I said about the break, we can rebuild for that. So Martin, all we are saying is give us a goal.
The frustration was so evident Saturday. The tension, the anxiety. It was palpable. You could sense it growing during the game. The noise in the stadium changed. People fidgeting in their seats. I must admit, like Gary, I was cursing Wintle for having too many touches in the second half, and I shouldn't have done it, because in hindsight he was looking for a forward pass. There just wasn't one on. They condensed the middle of the pitch. They were happy for us to go wide. They didn't mind us going wide because they were confident their centre halves would head everything that went into the box. They were totally confident of that. So they didn't mind us going wide. And you could just sense it. You know, I hated the booing at the end. I must admit, I said to my friends around me, this is just ridiculous. We're second in the league. What do we want from this young team? And the team itself are young. We've only got one player, I think, in the team who's tasted promotion. I think that's Robertson at Portsmouth. I don't think anybody else in the team has gone through promotion previously. So, you know, it's difficult. It's very difficult for us. They're young side.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, and they are a young side, and they've done fantastically well, and so has BBM. You know, so it's just like exactly what Gary said as a case of getting over the line. Martin, in your life, your dream has come true, and you know, a male grandson's come along for you to ready to fit into that Cardiff City bib and all the rest of it. And tell us about the name.
Well, my son is a big Cardiff City supporter, so he kept the name secret before the baby was born, and then he said it was Dylan, and I'm 100% convinced it's after Dylan Lawler because he's such a big City fan, and he absolutely loves Dylan Lawler. So I've got a grandson called Dylan, probably named after Dylan Lawler.
That's fantastic.
Who's probably the youngest player in the team, ironically. So he's got his Cardiff City baby grow on offer and a Cardiff City money box. My son's father-in-law is a Liverpool supporter, so we've got to stop that. We've got to stop that.
Yeah, we can't have that. Just make sure you dominate there, Martin, and indoctrinate as well as soon as you can. Yeah. And so, Richard, and congratulations again on that.
Thank you.
Lovely thing. Rich, when we played Lincoln a few weeks ago, they did a number on us, you know, as we talked about at the time. They were physical, they were strong, they were well organized, looked to hit us on the break, which they did. They were clinical and all the rest of it. And I think I said then on the show, you know, have Lincoln shown these other sides, you know, how to take on Cardiff City? That seems to be the model they're all going with. It is incredibly frustrating, isn't it?
It is, yeah, and I think we saw it against Wickham on last Tuesday. Again, we got caught on the break. It was okay. The sending off didn't help us because we played pretty well. We played the second half with 10. Whether it was a sending off or not is another thing. I don't think it was, but you know, yeah. Ultimately, we got caught on the break with 2 goals where perhaps Wickham did deserve them, and they took their chances. It was a night where we had so much of the ball, so much possession, and we're just not turning that possession into goals. And it was more of the same again on Saturday against Blackpool, and it's becoming a frustration. I genuinely think, Steve, that Brian Barry Murphy, he thought he'd struck gold with Ruben Caldwell and Amari Kellerman in the same team together against Exeter.
Yeah.
And he thought, oh, you know, this will work. And actually, it's done anything but. I think we've lost 2 of the 4 games, and we haven't scored in 3 of them 4. Which I just feel as though like they're too similar. They're taking up similar positions. They want to sort of hang on that edge of the box, and we're lacking that bite in midfield. Do you know what we're lacking in midfield? Is Joe Caldwell and the drive of him. And
I agree, Rich. Yeah.
I'm a big Callum Robinson fan personally, and I know he divides opinion, Callum, but I like Callum Robinson. I always have, and I think he's one of them where he's not going to get you 20, 25 goals a season, but he'll get you about 10 or 15, and that's all right, you know. And sometimes we could have done with someone like him with his experience just to be in that, like especially on Tuesday at Wickham. I was with some friends, and it felt like my one friend said, you know, we're putting these balls in the box, but there's no one there. There's no one in that 18-yard box to get us the end of it. And I think Callum would have occupied. I know he drops deep sometimes, but I think he would have occupied that space more than Kellyman or Caldwell has, you know. But yeah, quite right, Steve. You know, I think Lincoln have found the model in how to beat us, and it's other teams are adopting that. And it to use the old saying, we haven't got a plan B, you know.
No.
Yeah, well, that's an interesting one, isn't it?
Yeah, I think there was one thing that baffled me a little bit Saturday was he started Ruben and Alex Robertson on different sides of the field. Ruben normally plays on the right and Robertson on the left. And I think Ruben combines really well with Tanner on that right-hand side, but he swapped them over. Robertson was on the right alongside Tanner, and I don't know what his thinking was behind that, but it didn't seem to be as fluid as when Ruben is in that position. And really against Wickham, you know, Kellyman missed an absolute sitter in the first couple of minutes.
Yeah, he swiped it, didn't he? Just swiped it. And
But
I think it's
too quick, to be honest. I don't think he was expecting it that quick.
no. It's either Kellerman or Colwell, or isn't he? I don't think, I haven't seen him 3 times now. I don't think I agree with you, Rich. You can't play them both in the same side. And going back to the Wickham game, I was surprised at half time. It was a stupid sending off, whatever you think of it. He just didn't need to do it. But I would have thought what he would have done second half is brought either Chambers on or Fish to play at the back, leave Wintle in midfield where he's more effective, and then just play, almost take your punt in the end, because we got done by a ball over the top, which Wintle, I mean, he's not a centre half, is he?
No.
We got done by a ball down the channel, it went over the top of Wintle, that guy got it down and scored. And I thought, I thought Popsy would have kept the back 4 and just go, 4, almost like 4-3-2, fourth, and just and then just keep a shape,
It baffles me what Will Fish, the same with Callum Robinson, what have they done to him? Because Will Fish and Dylan Lawler had this fantastic partnership. They built up a good understanding with each other. We're keeping them in the team, and then suddenly he wants to break it up and put Osho in or Chambers in, and he leaves you scratching your head a little bit. I'm not criticising Brian Barry Murphy at all, because he's done a fantastic job, especially when so many wrote him off at the start of the season before a ball had even been kicked, But and to be where we are with 7 games to go is fantastic. But it does leave me scratching my head when I see the lineups most games, and I'm thinking, what's Will Fish done? What's it? I don't remember him having a bad game or putting a foot wrong. Why is he out the team? And then you see, but Callum Robinson is the big conundrum for me. I'm thinking, I don't get that. I don't get why. We've got, especially with Isaac Davis in as well, although we put him out wide, we've only got 2 really recognised strikers in the first team squad. At least give one a chance. If you've only got one fit, you at least give him a chance. If he's had half a dozen games and he's done nothing, fine, But I mean, he came on against Exeter and scored. There are goals in him. I just feel as though it frustrates me when I think, if you're not going to give this guy a chance, then you just throw him up for 15 minutes and expect miracles off him, and then the fans get on his back. Oh, Robinson's this, Robinson's that, and I'm thinking, well, hang on a minute, you're giving Ruben Colwell an hour, or you're giving Kellyman an hour, but they're not giving the same level of abuse to these guys. I'm thinking, cut this guy slack a bit,
I think we've lacked a bit of luck as well. Ashford down to 10, man. Ashford makes that fabulous run against Wickham. Wonderful run, really great run, and he just misses. And the number of shots we had on Saturday that could have got a deflection, that could have gone wide of the keeper. The keeper made 3 really top-class saves Saturday, and we're just not getting that little bit to lift the confidence, And we're a good team. We just need that little bit of extra confidence at the moment,
So we talked earlier about kind of changing it up and having a plan B and whatever. And I suppose you've got to say, Gary, overall, really you'd have to say, BBM. I was saying before we started about the way Man City play. I'm not saying we have the same quality of players as Man City, but in terms of our style, it's actually very similar. I think the way we play, and we play nice football, and we've been predominantly really successful, and we've got a great bunch of kids. We've got the best crop of kids I can remember. So the future is rosy, I think, for sure. And also, if it's been working, that's the way he plays. I kind of like that in a way. He's kind of got, this is how we play. We're Cardiff City. This is how we play. Do you kind of respect that from BBM, Gary, or not?
Yeah, it has been a breath of fresh air to say, if we back at the start of the season, we didn't know what was coming, did we? We let a lot of high wage earners go. We were left with a bunch of kids, really, as we said, in the main, quite inexperienced kids, really. I mean, Lawler's playing his 30th football first team game this year in his career or something. I don't know. So he's stuck to his guns and all that. But we've missed Salek so badly, haven't we? Really, to have a different, you know, because
the option
to have an option, when these teams, because you know, there's some pretty poor sides in this league, you know, and the pretty poor sides, you know, I thought after giving Exeter a hammering down there, we would be this week, we would pick up 6 points, hopefully, but you know, we looked flat on Saturday a bit, didn't we? You know, it looked like we said before, we need this break desperately, and I think this year though has been a breath of fresh air. You know, it's exceeded expectations up until the last few games, and everybody's getting a little bit frustrated, and in my terms worried, because you know, I've been supporting the City long enough now, and I'm thinking, oh no, please don't blow this one. You know, you know, I'm just thinking everybody wants us to get over the line, and up till now it's been fantastic football, and it's been a thoroughly enjoyable season, far better than last year, which was dire. And you know, we just want us to get over the line, you know. And I think once we do, we can sort of all breathe again, really. But you know, I got nothing against this. You know, what he's trying to do is just that. You know, we've just hit the buffers a bit, really, haven't we? In the last couple of weeks. You know?
There's a couple of things on that for you, Gary. One is, you know, I suppose we're all saddos. You know, we all watch everything about Cardiff City that comes on. So sometimes on social media they share the training routines. I mean, they're only showing clips from it, but it seems like they're doing the same kind of stuff. I suppose all teams do this, just do the same stuff over and over again. I'm just thinking from the point of view of the players. When we said about how they need a break, you know, they do the training, they train all week, they go through all those routines, and then they're kind of not quite getting there with the goals. It must be, you know, it must be quite difficult for them mentally, mustn't it, to just go again, get it over the line, particularly with younger players, you know. Yeah,
probably so. You know, I think this is where the older heads in the dressing room come in, I suppose. You know, like we said, there's not many people in there who've you know, have experienced anything like this before, is there? You know, we're predominantly a very young side, even our loan knees are fairly young. You know, Scanlon's come in, Kellerman's come in. You know, so I think it's just a case of resetting now, hopefully, and you know, hopefully we can get back to some sort of, you know, I think. You know, we need to find our scope. What would be a massive boost, although I appreciate he's been out for such a long time, if Salek could at least be in the squad for maybe the Peterborough game or the following game, maybe, you know, he's obviously going to start on the bench, and they're going to throw him straight into a game, aren't they, after weeks and weeks out, because he's just not going to be up to speed, is he? So, and obviously they need to make sure that he's physically ready as well as mentally ready, because that was a pretty serious injury the time he's taken to get back. And obviously in this league, the first time he gets a ball, somebody's going to give him one on it. So
yeah, exactly.
You know, he needs to be, you know, needs to be in his own mind, you know, ready for that sort of battle, you know. But if we could get him back for the last 5 or 6 games, that would be, I think it would give everybody a boost, really, and it would give us an alternative in games where we can't find a way through, like the last 3 or 4 games at home anyway. Just to give us that alternative, you know, 20 minutes, 25 minutes, I think that would be a massive boost, you know, to the whole squad and the supporters as well.
And with the benefit of hindsight, Rich, you know, is that we can all say now, oh, we should have signed, you know, a striker with a bit of stature and a bit of physicality went, you know, during the window, which obviously, you know, didn't happen. We didn't know, you know, even when Yusuf got injured, we had no idea it was going to be such a long-term injury. But we've got what we've got now, so we just got to crack on with it. But you know, one of the things we're finding, I think, a lot, particularly in this division, I think, you know, because League One to Championships, it's another level altogether. The number of teams you come up against and you're in the land of the giants, you know, you can cross them in all day. If you haven't got a big lumpy striker, you're not going to win the ball, are you, really?
No, this is it. We saw it pretty early on in the start of the season against Port Vale away, where they had 3 big lumpers at the back, and Salek got booted all over the pitch. Even with a big physical striker, he still physically got booted, you know. And this was the thing. This was my criticism against Wickham on last Tuesday. They had the one centre half was a good sort of 6'4", 6'5". I forget his name, the fair-haired lad. And when they had the corner, he was standing basically on our goal line, but he was towering over Nathan, who is not, you know, he's not short by any stretch, you know.
No.
And yeah, we were just lacking that physical presence up front. And do you know, almost though, I kind of feel has it been a bit of a false dawn? Because we've had this situation where we played false nine and it worked for so long that Brian perhaps thought I can get away without.
We were scoring lots of goals.
We found another way here, So when previously when I said, of course, we didn't have a plan B, perhaps that was our plan B. But then when your plan B gets found out, you need a fallback then as well, don't you? And we haven't had it. But another thing as well is we've also, although Ollie Tanner's been excellent, I think, since he's come back from injury with his assists, Chris Willock has dropped off in form, and we've missed Isaac Davis off the bench as an impact sub because Isaac always had a goal in him, and we've missed that as well as Yusuf Salek. So there's a double whammy there, really, for me.
Yeah, and Martin, I mean, Gary will get this more than anyone else on the panel tonight. He's been around since this happened pretty well. So 22, 23 years ago, when we started doing the show, that was the season that we went up into the championship. That was the one. And if you remember, the frustration and the near misses and those playoff games and on all of that tension, and we finally got into the championship. But this season, something I think most people would have bitten your arm off for. It looks like, we're going to go up automatically and take all of that pressure out. So we're on the cusp of something great. If we're trying to imagine, for those people old enough, how it was, the emotion of getting into the championship that time. It's it took us years, to get there. But we're right on the edge.
That's what I admire about Brian Barry Murphy. Really, he's developed a style for Cardiff that suits the squad that we've got.
Yeah,
they're all good technical footballers. I was Ashford and Tanner on the wing can use either foot. They can cross left-footed. They can cross right-footed. Ruba can use both feet to score goals. We've got such a good technical squad. Now we're missing for this league, unlike Lincoln perhaps, we're missing a bit of physicality right through the team. At corners, all we had on Saturday was Fish, really, and NG. We had no real other targets to aim for. Now, that will suit us in the championship. Because in the championship, they're used to dealing with big physical teams who are not technically as proficient as our side. And the technical ability of the championship will take that game away from some sides. Now, I think that we're going to be more ready for the championship this next season than we were when we got promoted previously. When we went up to the championship previously, we weren't as ready as we are now. Because a lot of these lads technically are more than good enough to play in the championship. And don't get me wrong, I think we need to make additions to the squad. But we've got really good young technical players. Is there a technical centre-half as good as Lawler in this division? No. He's technically he's the best centre-half in the division. Yeah. We've got a lot of risk takers. Trott, Osho, Lawler, both Caldwells, Tanner, Ashford. They like to take risks. And that's what wins you games at the higher level of football, is people who are prepared to take risks to get goals. It's just
Martin, do you think we'll keep hold of Dylan Lawler though next year? Because and we know Kellyman has expressed his interest in going back to Chelsea and trying to, get a place back, win a place in their team. But do you think we'll keep Dylan Lawler, or do you think he'll go in the summer? Because my concern is if Tan sticks around, depending on how this court case goes with what's his name, Emiliano Salas. How could I forget that? My concern is if Tan sticks around, might look to cash in on Dylan Lawler because there's no doubt someone will come in with a big offer for him.
I think this is a really difficult one because for the lad himself, he's got such huge potential that he needs to make that for his own good. He needs to step up. But are a Premiership club, for example, going to spend money on a player that's only ever played in League? Well, he had half a game in the Championship at Norwich last season.
Well, Leeds like Welsh players, so they might go in for him, But
wouldn't surprise me.
But will Premiership clubs need to see him for a season in the Championship before they're willing to go for him? Because it's another, I know they got huge wage bills, but are they going to take a player on who they're not certain can make that step up to the Premier League? I think they'll want to see another season for him in the Championship. They may buy him and loan him back to us. I don't know. I'm just got my fingers crossed there, to be honest with you.
It might be January we see some movement that someone goes in, they need an injury, they need a centre.
But I don't think he's the only one. I think Ashford, people will be looking at Ashford.
Yeah.
I really do. And I think people will be looking at Ruben and Joel.
I think Alex Robertson as well will attract many teams in the championship, you know.
Yeah, because I heard rumours that Coventry City was sniffing about Ruben.
Yeah.
So if they get promoted to the Premier League, one of the players they'd earmarked was Ruben. So
would you sell Ruben Colwell if it meant we had Kellyman back for another season on loan?
No, not for me. I'm a massive Ruben fan. He's 2-footed.
Yeah.
I think he's technically a better footballer at the moment. At the moment in their development, I think Ruben's technically a better footballer. But
I don't think there's any chance of Kellyman ever playing at Chelsea.
No, I don't.
They've become a bit of a basket case of a club over the last couple of weeks. There's going to be turmoil there. I think they get rid of their manager before the end of the season now. I think it's just, and I think, he's got an ambition and all that, but I wouldn't. Some people are on about on media and all that, but if we go up, would he come back for another season? He's done good little things, but I haven't been totally impressed with him. I haven't been sort of totally, I don't think he's showing any more. I agree with Martin than Ruben Colwell, really, honestly. I don't know what you boys think, but I don't think you think like, oh, he's been a really good loan. I would love him,
I don't think he was as good when he was wide right. I don't think he was that great.
No, he was never a winger, Rich, was he? He just wasn't. He wasn't.
But I mean,
he wasn't.
He can score a good goal. I mean, he scored a couple of good goals for us, especially at Plymouth. He scored 2 good goals. I think in that he's good. But are we always going to play him there? Probably not. Would you put him as a number 10? I mean, this is the thing, isn't it? He's trying to find a fit.
Yeah.
If we're keeping Ruben as well, we can see that perhaps they work together. So
yeah. I agree.
There's a couple of comments here from Graham. Sorry, I want to bring in. I'll go to you, Gary, on this one first, actually, because I'll go on the panel actually on this. It's good, really good question. So we're talking about like trying to break it down, and so Graham's idea is, if they're gonna play the low block, Gary, should we maybe then sit back a bit more so they come at us so we can open them up? Do you know what I mean?
I don't think they would. As an away team, they're just going to do what they got to do. They're not going to come out to their own half, are they? They're just going to stay there. It's not a case of, us not sort of inviting them on. I think if we you saw what happened in the League Cup yesterday. Arsenal, the goalkeeper had the ball at his feet, the Arsenal goalkeeper, for 36 seconds in one instance.
Wow!
And the commentary team was saying, "What is he doing? What is he doing?" I think that I think really we just needed, as I say, we've lacked that little bit of, as we said before, we've lacked that little bit of edge to our game and being able to open them up. I don't think we've tried. We've tried and tried and tried. We had so much of the ball, but we had 72% of the ball again on Saturday or something.
Yeah.
We never really carved out those really absolutely clear-cut chances.
No.
Where you thought we're going to score you, and when we did get a shot in, the keeper made a couple of decent saves. So I don't think it's a case of inviting them on, because teams come down here, they don't want to come out of their shape,
So if we don't attack them,
it's very difficult to try and move a team out if they don't want to come and play, really.
I mean, I just imagine the scenario, we keep the ball, and then they're just like sitting on a deck chairs, they're not even going to move.
I think it's against this team's DNA. I think this team just want to play football.
Yeah,
I think that's
press. It's about the press, isn't it?
Yeah, they just want to play,
Yeah. There's another good comment from Graham, actually, here, Martin, which is quite a nice idea. As and when Isaac is back, which would be great, by the way. Because Scanlon also looks pacey. I'm not sure he's he doesn't look fantastically fully fit, but he hasn't really played that much, But the idea from Graham there, maybe towards the end, of Davis and Scanlon on the wings, and when you're up against the side, are a bit knackered, to take him on. Do you see a bit of the tea on that, Martin?
I do. I'd like to see Isaac given a go through the middle, because against Lincoln, a little fox in the box, someone who's quick, sharp, wants to get on the end of things, might have been more effective than what we were doing, than even putting a big man on like Salak. I think someone like Isaac, his movement and his desire to get to the ball is what we're lacking in the box. I'm a big fan because he loves to challenge in the box. He's only little, but he's got the pace and he's got the desire to get on the ball. And I'd like to see him give it a go through the middle. You know, that's where he scored all his goals in Belgium, was playing as a centre forward.
It's a good call, actually.
You know, I'm a big fan of his. I think he's been unlucky with injury, and of course that terrible incident up at Rotherham. And
that was horrific. I can't believe nothing's happened about that. I cannot believe it.
The trouble is, if it's not on the referee's report, I think the EFL's hands are tied. The referee should have mentioned something in the report. It's so bureaucratic. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and the thing with that, Martin, before I go over to Rich, is you know, the footage of that was shown. You know, afterwards, retrospectively, you could see he basically just did him. You know, it was almost like common assault. You know. Yeah. So if we can see that, wouldn't you think? You know, don't they see this stuff?
I think it's the technicality. You know, I something in the back of my mind is saying that the referee has to mention something in his report.
Yeah, you're probably right. You're probably right.
Can act upon it, and it's so harsh on the lad because he obviously loves playing and loves playing for the city, but he's had such bad luck with injuries, and for something as cruel as that to happen to him. It really, you know, boils my blood, as they say, you know.
Yeah, I hadn't seen it till someone shared with me. I think it was Nigel Blues, Rich, who showed me that. I don't know if you've seen it when he basically just took him out. You know, literally just basically elbowed him. You know, just did him.
Yeah,
and it was so blatant. And taking Martin's point on board, I kind of get that. I wonder if that had, just to throw it out there, if that had been a top level Premiership player. And that had happened, it'd be all over the press. You know, something would have happened about that. I'm sure. You know, I'm pretty sure it would. But I'll just leave that one for now. Moving on, Rich, to this one, because Martin alluded to this earlier, and again, it's quite noticeable actually. The other thing, watching Man City and Arsenal, okay, the Premiership sides, they're two of the best sides in the world, yeah. But playing yesterday was their dead ball routines, their movement, and the way they operate in the dead ball situation. That's something we haven't done very well this season, isn't it? Something I think we can certainly develop, because again, if we're struggling to break these sides down, if we've got great routines but dangerous from free kicks and corners, that gives us that other dimension, doesn't it?
Well, what was it? 3 seasons ago, we'd scored the most goals from set pieces or corners. I think
we did really well.
Yeah. And cast your minds back to January of last year when we beat the Jacks 3-0 and Dimitrios Goutos' header from a corner. I don't remember us doing that this season. I think Dylan Lawler maybe might have scored a header. I think I can't recall, but I might be wrong there with that. I don't recall us scoring many goals and set pieces at all. We've scored free kicks. Yeah, Ruben Coble scored a free kick and whatnot. But you know, in terms of you're quite right, Steve. You know, Arsenal. You know, I've watched a lot of Arsenal this year or over the last few years, and one of the criticisms they're getting is that they're this direct foot team. You know, but listen, if that's what wins you football matches, you've got to do it. I think you've got to play to your strengths, and they've got two solid centre halves, and I think the right back Timber as well. They're all very good in the air. So naturally, you play to that strength. I think we're not a small side, but why are we not?
We're not a very physical side. We're not. You know, we kind of a skillful side. We don't have that kind of nastiness in us. I don't think. I'm not suggesting we should be, but maybe we haven't got that physicality to us somehow.
Do you know what I think as well is that comes back from the manager, because he's come from a club, possession based, and you're almost trying to walk it in. You know, they don't like these ugly goals. They want to score the perfect goal sometimes, and you know, to use the Arsenal analogy as well, going back some years when Wenger was there, that was their undoing. They were trying to be too cute, if you like, and then it ended up costing them. So sometimes you've got to play ugly. You've got to throw the ball in the mixer, or you know, put a cross in and put your centre halves up. You know, when we don't tend to do that, do we? You know, it's all these short passes and wide and back, and then to the byline, and then cut back again, and then put the ball into nobody, and then eventually we surrender possession. And maybe then that's where the frustration comes from the fans, because we're saying, well, hang on a minute, why are we doing this? It's all well and good having 76% possession like we did on the weekend, and 25 attempts on goal with only 5 on target. But if you're not creating goals from that, then you've got to try something else. You've got to try something else. And if it's direct corners or free kicks, then that might be it,
Yeah.
Yeah, the one time we did work a nice corner was a couple of games ago when Joel Caldwell scored. They knocked the ball just to the edge of the box,
yes,
and he whipped one in at the near post because it never really gone in. And he just left him completely unmarked, and he smashed one in from about 15 yards, didn't we?
That's a great goal.
Robertson, and he took it. And that. So I think we got to get savvy at things like that as well. Where we haven't got the physicality to compete. Maybe it's just making quick moves like that. Making goals like that. Using our nous a bit like that. It was a really good goal. I think that was the first goal too. It got us off in the game quite early on. That was a good move.
Is there something in it though? Horses for courses kind of thing. We're in League One. Hopefully for one season too. It looks like it. Hopefully, there's going to be that. You're gonna come up against like 6'4", 6'5" centre halves who they're not great passers of the ball, but they're strong and they're physical, and maybe we just don't have the armory to be effective in those dead ball situations. Is it to do with the physicality of what we're coming up against a bit? Do you think?
Well, yeah, particularly with what we got now. But like Rich said before, there have been games where Salek's been smashed by, they've taken it in turns.
He's had a battering, didn't he? Yeah.
In the main, look, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. We've had a great season, right? Okay, it's been thoroughly enjoyable. We scored 4s, 3s, won 4-3 in the last minute, won games away from home 3-0, 4-0. It's been absolutely wonderful, as compared to last season anyway. But there are some pretty poor sides in this league. If somebody, hopefully we get into the championship, but I don't think we'll be going away to a team away from home and getting a man sent off 20 minutes and dominating the game like we did at Rotherham and actually struggling to a 3-0 win, outplaying them and out possessioning them against 10 men away from home. That's not going to happen. So I think, I think you've got to temper it with. It's been a great season, far better than last year. It's been a great season, and hopefully it'll end well. But then we'll worry about next season in the summer. Let's do that. Let's get into that. Let's get back into the championship first. But we have played some. It's been good because the young players have got experience this year.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a different ball. It'll be a different ball game in the championship next year. But at least they'll have experienced first team football, and then if we can get up there, then we can reset in the summer. Because like we've all said before, and like loads of people have said, we must get back this year. It's a one season hit. Yeah, we've got to get back there for the money. An extra 10 million, is it? I think we'll hang on to our younger players for at least one more year, as you said. They'll want to see how they go in the championship. And then we can go from there. But let's get over the line first, and then we can worry about that then, can't we?
Jeff Delacruz has come in with a comment, Martin, which I'm sure you'll respond to. We've missed Rolsey for the set piece delivery, he says.
I think the delivery's not been great the last couple of games.
No.
The delivery's not been good. But it's like horses. If you play our two best headers of the ball, say as centre half. If you play Fish and Chambers as the two centre halves, so at the best headers of the ball, you lose something there defensively without Lawler, because Lawler creates a lot from the back because he passes so crisply. He can carry the ball through the lines. Yeah. So it's a difficult balancing act, and I like what Barry Murphy's doing, because the way we're trying to play is the way you have to play if you want success in the championship.
Yes.
And if you want, you've got to play that way now. I happen to watch the goals from our neighbours down west, and they've got two massive lumps at centre back, and Coventry completely exposed their lack of mobility. They scored 3 goals at will almost, Coventry, on
Can you give us a scoreline again, Martin, please, just to remind us?
I think it slipped my mind for a moment, but I think they got tonked 3-0, something like that.
3-0 home, yeah?
Okay. Yeah. And 3-0 before half time. So, yeah.
Yeah. And Judas scored a goal. He scored the second goal, did he, Judas?
Yeah, he did, didn't he?
Sorry,
After all been
Grimes.
booing him, yeah.
Oh, yeah, Grimes. Yeah.
Actually, Rich, coming on from that, Jeff has pointed out, actually, Bowler nearly scored, didn't he? He nearly scored. Blackpool used Bowler as a shot corner guard on Saturday. He never moved from that position following a late runner into the box, trying to drag him out of position. Again, part of the kind of that defensive thing, and then trying to hit us on the break. It's actually a really good save from Trott, or that would have been in, Rich, wouldn't it?
Yeah, for sure, definitely. Actually, I thought Josh Bowler wasn't a bad player, to be honest. We had him on loan. Again, he was another divided opinion. I thought he was quite a good player for us. Myself, him, and Carlin Grant on the wings. But again, he's one of them who can expose. We're being exposed all the time on the break, aren't we? And it's sometimes when you've, again, like just what Martin's saying, then put in a centre half up for the corner, who we leave him back to try and cover, and then we get done on the overlap. Then and it's yeah, but I quite like Josh Bowler myself. But yeah, no, it's they obviously saw a chink in our armour and thought, let's try this,
Yeah. Well, again, I think they went back to the Lincoln thing. It was a good line about Josh Bowler from the commentator, and I saw a clip on the weekend. Josh Bowler is John McEnroe with straight hair. which is quite good.
You cannot be serious, Steve.
There's a great comment here from Jammer, which is this is an interesting one. Next year, worried about another centenary celebration. They haven't been kind to us, so hope the curse doesn't continue. Yeah. Every time we've been poor about that. And then Sean Harrison says, Gary, it's not about set pieces, play to your strengths. So very few can actually good headers as a ball in the team. I suppose.
No, probably not.
It's true, really, isn't it?
Yeah, probably not. Yeah, probably not. Not like Bamber and Morrison. We were we were almost done. When Morrison was in the side, we were almost untouchable. Really, he was going to win. He was going to win everything, wasn't he? Really.
Yeah.
I want to mention a couple of things tonight. One is I think it's John Toshak's birthday. Was it today or yesterday? 77. John Toshak, I think that's right.
Yeah.
So any comments or memories of Tosh? Seeing as he Canton, I think he was born in Cardiff. Never mind what he went on to do. He might have come to us if things worked out the other way. Any comments on Toshak as a character for City and in Welsh football? Martin?
He was in the first Cardiff City side I ever saw.
Yeah, me too.
I went down, I think it was about 67, my first game. 66.
It would have been me too then, I guess.
Yeah, and he was wonderful. It wasn't just he could head a ball. He actually directed the ball with his head to who he wanted to pass to. And that combination with Brian Clark was electric. If one didn't get you at the near post, the other one got you at the far post. I remember we played Hull City, must have been about 69, and we won 5-1. And I think he scored a hat-trick. I know Leighton Phillips scored as a sub. I think it was his very first goal for the City. And he was unplayable. Hull City could get nowhere near him. Absolutely nowhere near him. And it broke my heart. My dad woke me up to tell me that we'd sold him.
Me too, man. I think that was his last home game, wasn't it, Matt?
Yeah,
I think that was Toshak's last home game because I think he played. I think we played QPR away the following week, and then they sold him just before Christmas, didn't they?
Yeah. It broke my heart. My dad woke me up to tell me, and I thought, "Oh, thanks, Dad. I really needed that."
It's made my Christmas. I did.
£110,000. Yeah. Before your time, I'm guessing, Rich, John Toshak, but obviously since then he went on to have a cameo role, I suppose, as the manager of Wales. And what I liked about that time with Tosh then was I kind of quite like he didn't really care. He does what he believes and just gets on with it. And he really wound up, the stuffed suit on the committee in Welsh football, And I think that though he's responsible for bringing through a whole new range of new players for Wales and modernising what we do. He deserves credit for that, I think.
Yeah, I don't know if I've got to agree with that, Steve, to be honest. I never liked John Tosh. Well, I stopped going to watch Wales play when John Tosh.
He's Marmite, isn't he?
What I didn't like about him was I was a big fan of how we played in the plays we had and the squad we had in the Mark Hughes, and Tosh should be on as a studio pundit every single game, berating Mark Hughes and criticising him and the team, the players and the tactics and everything. And then Tosh took over and took us to 127th in the world. And what people forget is they credit him for saying, "Oh, he brought through all the youngsters." Well, actually, it was Brian Flynn who brought through them youngsters and blooded all them in the 21s. And Tosh had to use them because he fell out with 22 players who all subsequently retired. So, or a large proportion of those fell out with him, so they retired. Robbie Savage and others. So he had to pick them because he had nobody else. That's my view on John Tosh. I've never been a fan of him, and I particularly I've known some friends who've met him in the past, and it's not particularly been positive, the interactions with him. So because of that, I got nothing nice to say about the guy, I'm afraid. Sorry to be...
no, that's absolutely fine. That's why we do the show.
One, you know, it's...
yeah, but it's interesting.
I credit Brian Flynn with bringing through them youngsters, and I think a lot of... Chris Gunter said that once too in an interview, and I've got massive respect for Brian Flynn. I think he was a fantastic manager who should have been the Wales manager after Tosh. Thankfully, we then had Gary Speed got and then Chris Coleman who finished the job. And,
okay. So I get what you're saying, but as I remember at the time, you know, there was a kind of a debate about whether the big players at the time were trying to be, you know, bigger than the Wales shirt, and I think, you know, Tosh was kind of coming at it the other way, so that there's conflicting opinions on who was at fault. There was a bit of shenanigans going on, I think, but he certainly, he wasn't afraid to shake things up, you know.
No, I was just team Robbie Savage in terms of the arguments and the fallout. I thought Robbie Savage was one of our best players at the time, was playing regular Premier League football, and to ostracise him was ridiculous at the time when we didn't have a huge pool of players to pick from. I just thought it was ridiculous to do so at the time when we were on the cusp, when we got those qualifiers, playoffs, and then he fell out with and lost half the squad. I thought, well, that's not the way to conduct yourself when you're a small nation. It's okay if you're in England or a Germany or a Spain and you've got France and you've got 50, 70 players to pick from. When we were so small a nation, we only had about 30. It seemed that. But that's my view. As a player, fantastic, and
I'm not going to win you over, so I'm going to leave that one alone. Yeah. So I'll move on to you, Gary, and a less enjoyable anniversary, of course, was the 6th anniversary of the death of the wonderful Wits. Just the other day, with I don't know whether you want to maybe, you know, we talked about him so many times. You know, just before he died, I was absolutely desperate to get him back on the show, but it didn't happen.
No, there was a player. When you talk about legends for the city, there's one of them. Certainly a modern legend. We go back to Brian Clark and Tosh and people like that back in the day, and Don Murray and Phil Dwyer, you know. And then you're talking about modern day legends. So, you know, I mean, I probably saw all of his goals, you know. I mean, he scored some wonderful goals, didn't he? You go
Fantastic.
Back to the one he scored against Leicester in the first leg of that playoff semi-final. The one he scored up at Middlesbrough to get us to the semi-final against Barnsley when we beat Middlesbrough 2-0. It was his free kick in for the Johnson diving header for the second one in Middlesbrough. Yeah. Some of the free kick, when you see the goals he scored. I mean, the one he scored against Barnsley, which one of the championship goal of the season, when he flicked it up in the air, and he just volleyed it in. I mean, you know, some of the goals he scored in his time at Cardiff were just incredible, you know. And you know, he's a fantastic player. You know, and a tragic end. I mean, you couldn't write an ending like that. Really, got a complete accident, you know. And but he was a wonderful player for us, you know. And like I say, when you show the goals he scored, I mean, they were absolute, you know, some wonderful goals. So yeah, he's right up there with, you know, you go down in all the years I've watched the City, going back like Martin since '67, you know, he would certainly be one of the most, you know, one of the players I would always remember fondly. You know,
yeah.
Right
would he be in your all-time 11?
he would certainly be in with a shout, wouldn't he?
He's got to be in the squad,
we
hasn't
could
he?
sit down for hours and pick our all-time 11. I mean,
Wits has got to be right up there,
all-time
surely.
11s, you know. I mean, we saw some wonderful, you know, I saw some wonderful players down there, you know, and but in terms of when I look at the legend, I think of Phil Dwyer, I know 405 with Don Murray, you know, people like this who served the city, you know, over a number of years, and Wits was here for like 9 years, nearly 10 years, I think.
Quite a while.
So, you know, I always, legends for me are the ones who played like all those games, given service, scored wonderful good times, giving us wonderful memories, and so he would certainly be right up there, wouldn't he? In my lifetime, anyway.
So Martin, he was on the show, I think once or twice actually in the going back years ago, and just you know, the way he came across was exactly that, you know, humble, likable, polite, you know, just not really overly excited about anything, didn't really show his emotions, just got on with it. But he was prodigious talent, wasn't he?
It's probably the best left foot I've ever seen down the city. The left foot was like a wand. And he's from Nuneaton, where my dad lives now.
Oh yeah.
And he just came across as a guy that wasn't really in love with football. I don't mean that nastily.
Took it for granted, kind of, didn't he?
Yeah, he just turned up, played.
Yeah.
That type of character. But what a left foot! I will never ever forget that quarter final at Middlesbrough.
Yeah.
I took my son to the game. He's now obviously in his 30s, and I remember him dancing around the car park at the
Absolutely
end of the game.
fantastic goal, wasn't it?
Him and Ramsey that day completely run the game. Middlesbrough fans stood outside and applauding our coaches going home, because and it was down to those two. They were absolutely wonderful, and I can still in my mind's eye see my son dancing around the car park. He must have been about I'm trying to think, he must have been about 15, 16, and I couldn't get hold of him. I couldn't get him on the bus. He was just busy dancing around the car.
He did what he wants.
Yeah, wonderful player.
Yeah. Did Gary or Martin, did you ever get to meet him at all?
No.
I did once, Steve. Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I'd play the year dues normally. I got a photograph somewhere. I was lucky enough when I was on the supporters club committee to present him with. I don't know what it was. I think it was in Safari Gardens the one year, and I got a photograph with Wits, like, and he's just so matter of fact, isn't he?
Yeah.
You know, he's just like, oh, you know, sort of, he's just so. You know, he used to just smash a ball in and just turn around, and I don't think I've ever seen him get excited. He got a bit excited when he scored the goal in the semi-final against Leicester. He did sort of run towards the fans really, and he had a bit of a smile on his face and I think so. That was about as excited as he got. He was a fan. Like Martin said, wonderful left foot. He was a fantastic player. You know? He was a good player. He was a great player for us. Yeah.
And also from what I can tell, a really lovely person, as was Sol Bamba, you know. So it's kind of tragic how these things happen. So Rich, I'm relaxed. I'm going to say something now. I shouldn't say it, right? The Blues are going up. Okay, there we are. I'm convinced. We're going to get there. We're going to be fine. We'll be fine. Don't panic, sir. We'll be fine. Do you feel the same, Rich, or are you a bit more jumpy?
I feel the same. Steve, was it 11-point gap between us and Bolton in third?
7 games to go.
7 games to go. We're not losing 4 games between now and the end of the season. No way. We're too good for that. They've put in the hard yards. They've done the hard work to get to this position now. We have hit a blip. Everyone's saying it, and we have, you know, it's not been great over the last month or so. We got 2 weeks off, or a week, or just under now. Brian will get it right. We got Yusuf coming back. We got Isaac Davis coming back. There's our firepower. We'll have a bit of a break. The boys will be back at it. 2 or 3 wins now in a row, and then people will soon forget this bit we've had, and we'll be celebrating. I'm disappointed we're probably not going to win the league, because I would have liked us to lift the trophy at the end of the season. But as Gary said earlier, the remit is to get up. We're going to do it. We'll win our next 3.
And at the beginning of the season, Gary, I know, you know, it's almost like you're kind of being being insincere when you say this, but we're in the automatic places, and it's so important. I think not only that we go up, but I think it's also really important that we are in those automatic places, because we don't want to go anywhere near the playoffs, right?
No.
So if we come down, I wasn't 100% convinced we come straight back up. I wasn't convinced at the beginning of the season. I'm a Cardiff City fan. You don't think it, but if we do, then it's a job well done, isn't it? And are you fairly confident, Gary?
Yeah, I'm pessimistic. I'm always glass half empty. It's like one of these ones, once it's mathematically certain, I'll just take a deep breath, But looking at Bolton's fixture list, they got a brutal fixture list.
Tough.
Finish. Very tough. The toughest of the lot, I think, really.
Yeah.
But I think if we can take sort of the next 3 or 4 games, but certainly up to the point we play Bolton, when we play them at home, Bolton have got Plymouth, then they've got somebody like Stockport, then they got us. So if we can take sort of maybe sort of 6 points from on it, I think if we can, if they don't sort of make a big inroads in the next 3 games on our 11-point gap, I think it's all over then, to be honest.
Yeah.
So I think, if we can win if we can win our next 2 games, like Rich said, if we can win our next 2 games, I think we've got 1 foot in the championship then, more than 1 foot actually. Because when you count the games down, the less games it is, it almost means that they've got to win every game then.
Yeah, absolutely.
They've got to win like probably 6 games out of 7, or maybe 5 out of 6, it's a big ask for any team, isn't it?
Yeah. And Bolton, Martin, that was a good comment there from Jeff as well about Ipswich. They didn't win the league, and look what happened to them. They roared onto the Premiership. Bolton, I think when they come to us, I don't think I might be wrong, but I don't think they'll do a Lincoln.
No,
I think they'll come to play football, I think.
Yeah, I don't think it's in their DNA to sit in a low block like Blackpool did. Blackpool played to their strengths, which was a low block, sit in their box. They're desperate for a point because they're in the relegation zone. So they're desperate. They put their body on the line with every shot blocked. I don't think that's Bolton's way. They want to come and play against us. And I do sometimes have a little snigger when fans say, "Oh, teams have worked us out." Well, it's taken them 36 games to work us out.
Yeah,
so,
good.
We can't be that easy to work out because we've got really good footballers and we've got to get behind the lads because I noticed on Saturday, we normally overload the wide areas. We get runners inside the winger, outside the winger, and second half that stopped. We left Tanner and Ashford and Willock to do it on their own more. And we wasn't overloaded. I think that's a sign of the players feeling the tension from the crowd. So, but I can't see Bolton doing a low block. No way. They think they're as good a team as we are. So they're going to come and try and play against us,
Okay, so we got no game to look forward to. So there is a Wales game. So anybody got any opinions on that? I suppose it's about well, Gary, you said earlier, didn't you? If Dylan plays, as long as he comes through unscathed, really.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's the only one of the 4 who's been called up who's going to actually probably potentially start, isn't he? So we need him to come back, unarmed, really, because then we got because Osha's not going to be available for the next 2 games. So we need 3 centre halves, don't we? So fingers crossed on our front,
Yeah. Good point, actually. Any thoughts on Wales? Obviously got the 2 home games. Be nice to see Wales make it. Are we going to do that, Rich? Are we going to crack on and do it this time?
I think we can win the first game. It's going to be tough if we get Italy in the final. They got Northern Ireland, haven't they?
Yeah.
Right in saying we play the winner of that game. I watched a couple of Northern Ireland qualifiers, and they're much improved. They look really good, actually, but. You've got to think Italy are probably the favourites, but again, Italy are not what they were either. They on paper, if you look at their squad, there's not that many household names really playing for them these days. So, could we do it? Anything's possible, but I don't know. It's going to be touch and go. It's going to be touch and go for me. I think we'll win the first game. I just don't know if we'll get past Italy.
Okay, and I think we have ever beaten Bosnia. I think that's right, actually. Martin, will you be watching it, will you, Martin, the game on Thursday?
Yeah, I think we'll beat Bosnia. I really do. I think the momentum of the crowd and the occasion, I think we'll beat Bosnia. But Italy, I always worry when we play Latin teams like Portugal, Spain, Italy, France. They've got that technical ability. But I think if we get a good start against Italy, if we get a good goal, an early goal, that will frighten the Italians. There's so much expectation from their fans that they should automatically qualify for the World Cup. That I think it could get to their squad. I think it could get to their players. So I'm going to be optimistic and say we'll beat Bosnia and we'll beat Italy. So fingers crossed.
You've given me a line to finish the show, so I'll go with this. Thank you all, and arrivederci Italia.
This channel is powered by an incredible membership community on Cardiff City World and patreon.com/Ace Podcast Nation. Becoming a member unlocks exclusive rewards from early access to live event tickets, bonus content, and even the occasional inside transfer scoop when we get it. But more importantly, it allows us to bring you top quality Cardiff City content 7 days a week. Across those 7 days, we're talking match previews, exclusive interviews, instant match reactions, the breakdown podcast, tactical deep dives, the spotlight series, Bluebirds Rewind, Academy Focus, and just so much more. Led by myself, backed by an army of passionate Cardiff City fans, this is content created by fans for fans. Balanced, professional, and 100% all about the club we all love. If you enjoy what we do, then join the community today and support what we are doing as we help to keep Cardiff City World flying high.